Bum 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 ba dum bum 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 a boom boom ba ba dum bum ba bum bum ba bum 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 ba dum boom boom ba bum bum ba bum bum ba bum bum. But I
Okay.
Um, so we are on the bottom third of page Zayin. The line starts with the word Bitl Horotzin.
Third of the way down?
Third from the bottom.
Oh, third from the bottom.
Right.
Oh. Gotcha.
Um, so we're explaining the principle of the tzinor and the necessity of kelim, and ultimately the principle of Torah. That Torah is called derech, which is essentially that pathway and the keli that provides for the hamshocha of rotzenu elim. That should be and explains that the effect of Torah is not only that there would be a place where the rotzenu elim would be able to lodge, but even on a higher level. In the initial hamshocha of rotzen, there has to be also something that initiates it, that solicits it. Because principally the whole inyan of hamshachas harotzin is a inyan what's called bitl harotzin, because the rotzin alien itself is bli gvul, is ein safe. There's no hamshacha, there are no ritzonis within it, and in order that there should be a inyan of hamshachas harotzin of any kind, the initial rotzen should be in the form of oil. For that, there needs to be the keli that solicits it. And this is what we're explaining, that Torah is actually effective not only to retain the rotzen, but even to create it in the first place, to initiate in the first place. Because in order to initiate this rotzen, it has to be what's called the bitol rotzen elin ha'atzmi. The bitol of the rotzen atzmi, in order there should be a rotzen that's nimshech in Torah mitzvahs. During the discussion that we had over here, there were certain questions, and I remember, I think Baruch asked, what was the solicitation that brought about the oir? There was choshech in the world, choshech apnei hayim, and then came oir. If oir needs an initiator, what was the initiator for this oir? So I asked him that this was the choshech. The choshech asked for oil. So yesterday I had a discussion with one of our Choshev members, and it came out that this may have been misunderstood. And I want to explain. The Indian that the Choshech, I want to explain the entire phenomenon. There is a similarity in the Indian that the Choshech solicits the oil and the Indian that Torah solicits the oil leki. This is why one is a motion for the other. The Indian that Torah solicits the Indian from oil leki is that Torah is a keli for oil leki. In other words, the mitzvahs of the Torah are such that they beg that there should be oil nimshach in it, so that there would be because the mitzvahs do not really conform to worldly features. The mitzvahs are mitzvahs elikim. This is what the Eibusher wants. This is how you have to do. But they don't conform. They don't fit into the world. And therefore there is no oir in the mitzvahs. In order that there should be oir and there should be meaning to the mitzvahs, they solicit the oir elikim to be nislabish. I gave the mashal, this we discussed already, Takia also a few days ago, that a very simple thing, that if you lend somebody an article, and stam halvo, stam she'elo shleishim yim, that if you don't specify a duration of time, it is you lend it for 30 days. If during these 30 days you want it back, you need it back, you made a mistake. You can't have it back. You lend it in for 30 days, you can't have it back. Unless he wants to lend it back to you. So in the world perspective, it doesn't make any sense at all. It's my article. I did a favor and I lent it to you. How is it that you're preventing me from having it? What is, in fact, this is the din Torah. What is the oir behind it? The oir behind it is that even though the Rebbe created the world and gave it to human beings, he did not relinquish ownership of the world. There's no way that the world can then lose its connection with the Rebbe. He's the one who is maintaining it. He owns it. And the fact that he gave it to people, he gave it to people on a functional level. You cannot own anything in the world to exclude the Meibushin out of it. You can own it on a relative level, relative to your neighbor. You own this, and that you really own. You're allowed to do anything you want with it. But you're still the Meibushin's guest. This is a posik in the Torah of Emerson, like I said, by Yovel says, get him to show me you can't sell just royal property for eternally, because it's not your land. Therefore, if you own an article, you own the article on a certain functional level, but your neighbor also owns it. And everybody owns it. Not they own it, the Eibusher owns it. And by virtue of that, anybody can have it. So if you're giving it as a loan to somebody, during this period, you have relinquished your relative ownership to this other person. But he owns it not because of your kindness. He owns it because the Eibusher is holding it for him. For these 30 days, the Eibusher is holding it for him, not for you. And therefore you can't have it back. So that the mitzvahs of the Torah are the kelim that solicit and allow the oir eliki to rest in the world. So coming back to this phenomenon of darkness and light in the world. So it was understood that darkness solicits light because darkness is never impoverished, and it it can't respect itself, so it wants light. No, that's not the point. All solicitation of oir is from a position of strength, not position of weakness. What is the strength? Within this darkness, there is a huge world with all kinds of richness, all kinds of beauty. And it wants to recognize and that this beauty should be recognized. So that's why it solicits light, so that you could recognize what I have in this world. In darkness, you can't recognize. This is the similar in. In order to reveal the greatness that is there, yes, the oil is aroused and it wants to, and it's nimshach. And for that, this is the reason why the Rotzen Oelin Atzmi is mevatel itself, and it comes down in order to illuminate the world, because thereby it shows the greatness of the Oyer Eliki and the greatness of Torah. Okay.
So what I say, the world exists for Torah, for the sake of Torah. But the world elicits the light of Torah for its own purposes. It has its own agenda, so to speak.
Okay. Okay, so Keser. This should be up to the line begins with Bittul Harotz. And this Bittul Harotz is called Keser. Why is it called Keser? What's the relationship? Keser is that which surrounds, so to speak, and allows the further descent, the further development. Keser is like the encasement that permits further development under its umbrella. Why would Rotzen want to develop beneath the umbrella? Rotzen wants to go upwards. He's mevatel himself in order to enable that development. So similarly to Milo, Inyan HaKeser, the principle of the Keser, who Inyan Bittul Horotzen Kaviyochel. This is the principle of Bittul Horotzen Kaviyochel. The Kaviyochel means if it could be said, Kaviyochel, so to speak. Now, what is the principle over here? B'chlal we say Kaviyochel. The truth is, we do not have any comprehension of Rotzen Ho'atzmi and the Bittul Rotzen Atzmi. We have no comprehension of the Atzmi and how the process is and how the Rotzen came about in terms of real comprehension. There's absolutely no way that we can even begin to understand what the Atzmi is. What we're saying, Kaviyochel, is that there is that. Step back. I'm not saying there is. That the result of this Hamshachas Rotzin represents a union from Bittul Rotzin. Therefore, we speak of it in terms of, so to speak, there was a bittul rotzen. We have no access to that reality at all. But this is what this rotzen means. If there's a rotzen, this rotzen initially is rotzen atzmi bli gvul. All of a sudden, it's a rotzen atzmi that's nimshach in world, or nimshach bichlal in oir. That represents a bittul, and therefore we describe it as bittul or rotzen. In other words, we're not describing what happened; we're describing the result of it. And to respond properly, we speak in terms of how it happened. But to how it happened, we have no access. Shevatul rotzen ho'elin ho'atzmi shebebchinas ein sof, that he would be mevatel the rotzen ho'elin ho'atzmi shebebchinas ein sof, which is bebchinas ein sof, li yesh lo rotzen b'teiru mitzvos, so that he would acquire, he would identify a rotzen in teiru mitzvos. Rotzen ho'elin ho'atzmi, we already discussed, and I want to bring it up and refresh the scene. It's an extremely rich principle. Essentially, we discussed it like yesterday or the day before. We started the saying we called the rotzen called overetze b'kiyumei. Rotzen ho'elin ho'atzmi. Where does that rotzen come from? The inyan of rotzen bichlal, especially when you talk about rotzen atzmi. Rotzen atzmi means it's a rotzen that does not come from any place, and it is not a gilui, it is not a functional element of rotzen at all. It's a rotzen. It's an essential rotzen. What does it mean that it's an essential rotzen? Particularly from our perspective, when we say rotzen, I want, it seems to be implying something that I'm lacking. I want it. That's our simple sense of rotzen. So we explained that rotzen atzmi is a pshat, that there is atzmus. Whatever atzmus, quote unquote, is. Atzmus is not an is altogether. Whatever atzmus is atzmus. Onoichi mishi onoichi. This is best advice that we can refer to it as, like the Rambam says, a first being. We have no idea what means a first being, a being that is not preceded by not being. We have no idea what that is. We have no idea what it is, and we have no way to relate to it, to define it. This being is a true being. What does it mean it's a true being? It is not an inadvertent being. It's a being that wants to be what he is. Why does it want to? Because that is the truth. That is the absolute thing. That's what rotzen ho'elin ho'atzmi. Anything that is real, like we said, a human being, anything that's real, a human being who is for real, what is one indicator of that? He wants to be what he is. The primary desire of the will of a human being is to be a human being. A human being who wants to be an animal is not a human being. An animal wants to be a human being is not an animal. I mean, the Rebbe created everything with its particular purpose, with a particular function, and everything fulfills its. There's the story of the Gemara, Rabbeinu Hakodesh. It's a story, a normal story. That the Rebbe Yehuda HaNasi, Rebbe who wrote the Mishnayos, He was walking in the street, and they were leading an ox to the shechita. And the ox walked over to Rebbe and put his head between his legs, begging for mercy. And the Rebbe said, Leich lekach nitzarta. Go, this is what you were created for. Okay. So the Gemara says, on the one hand, Rebbe was punished because of this, because it's like if you beg for mercy, you have to respond in mercy. But on the other hand, it's a phenomenal statement. It was not an achzorius on the part of Rebbe. This is your ultimate goal. This is your greatest being, yourself. If you're going to be shechted and then consumed by Yidden who are going to do Torah mitzvahs, what else can you accomplish? What else can you wish for? This, if you have a rotzin, that's what you should want. Lekach nitzarta.
Quick question.
Sure.
Not to get too bogged down in the schematics of it, but we're saying that the kav is the scene there, which is Isis, Ratzin, Liyis, Ratzin, Ve'elames. In order for that Ratzin to be drawn, there needed to be the Bittul Haratzin Atmi, which we're saying is Kasser. But generally we...
No. Kesser is formed as a result of the beetle.
Okay. Kasser is not the Bittul Haratzin. The Bittul Haratzin precedes the kav.
Yeah. Kesser is represents beetle harotzin. Represents it. Harotzin that's in the state of beetle. Kesser is the result of beetle.
But wouldn't the kav represent a Ratzin, which is in a state of Bittul, seeing is the kav is the Ratzin Ve'elames, so therefore by force there has to be the Bittul of the Ratzin Ha'atzmi.
Yeah, but in order to form the kav, there has to be first a rotzin, and then within this rotzin effectuate a tzimtzum oyer and bichlal, a different kind of tzimtzum oyer, and that creates the kav. Okay, bittul rotzin kaviyachol sheibatl rotzin ho'elin ho'atzmi she'bechinas ein soif. The rotzin ho'elin ho'atzmi. This is what we say. Rotzin ho'elin ho'atzmi. Rotzin ho'elin ho'atzmi represents atzmus, and therefore it's bechinas ein soif. Liyis loy rotzin b'teiru mitzvos. The bittul of that rotzin is that he is mitzamtzim that rotzin, that he should have a rotzin b'teiru mitzvos. V'lochein yikroim ha-mitzvos b'shem tzedakah. And for this reason, the mitzvos are referred to by the term tzedakah. Or k'mei shekosuv, v'tzedakah tiyelon. V'tzedakah tiyelon yikinish me'lasos kol mitzvah hazes. In other words, this is tzedakah, that the Rebbe made a tzedakah that he gave us mitzvahs. The whole ha-mitzvahs, which means to say that all the mitzvahs hein tzedakah v'chesed, are essentially a union for tzedakah and chesed and kindness, which means there is no prior justification that it should be. It's mitat tzedakah v'chesed. Asher him shechavaya b'hen. As a tzoyne ho'elim baruhu, that Hashem drew into this mitzvahs, tzoyne ho'elim, shehu bilti sofa bilti tachlis. The rotzin which is in itself is without tachlis, without an end, without a definitive purpose. This is infant tzedakah. And that is really affected by the day hatero mitzvos lamato. What solicits it? What brings it about that there should be this tzedakah? The Torah mitzvahs, the way Torah mitzvahs are here lamato. The b'chinas bitul hayesh. That when we do in Torah mitzvahs, the b'chinas bitul hayesh, which we, by requirement, Torah mitzvahs requires the union from bitul hayesh. Shemabatel ritzoy noisov, where one has to be mabatel his own ritzoynus. As we point out, wherever you turn, yes, indeed, we can do Torah mitzvahs, but they don't fit with our own view of worldly life. And in the battle, let's say Neisov, in order to have the Ratzon Eli, Shalidei Zeh Mamshichim Lemailo Liyez Bechinas HaRotzei. Thereby, we mamshich that Lemailo also there should be this Bitl HaRotzon, or Bitl HaRotzon Ho Atzmi, and that should come then from Rotzon how it can be Nimshech in Torah mitzvahs. Zehu, and thus Zehu, this is the point. Shehatayra nikras derech. You say Hatayra is called derech. Derech means a pathway, and we discussed in the previous mind the whole meaning of derech. In what way is Torah called derech? Shezehu hagoyreim. Because Torah is the cause, that the initiator and the trigger, liya is hamshachas ha'oir. That there should be hamshachas ha'oir. The first thing is that it triggers that there should be hamshachas ha'oir altogether. Otherwise, the oil stays put, oil atzmi, stays put with the atzmi. That there should be hamshachas ha'oir. This is needs a trigger, and the trigger is the derech that should be a keli for it. But nas ali deizeh, and then thereby, as a result, as affected, there should be drochim vekelim, many pathways, sub alleyways, vekelim, and receptacles in which the oil should be nimshach. All the mitzvahs, these are all the various kelim in which the oil is nimshach. This is, and we'll have a chance to, of course, to point it out many times, but to understand in principle, because we are nearing the end of the year, every mitzvah, every svara in the Gemara, in Torah, as technical as it may seem, has an oir eliki. The technicality of the svara is the keli for the oir eliki. And then once you have the keli, the oir eliki can be used. Coming back, I mean, we have for this you have Mishalim galore, but we spoke about this lending of an article. So the technical explanation is you have committed yourself to this. You made that commitment. You can't renege. That is a technical innovation because it really doesn't actually make sense in itself. Still my article. But there is an oir that illuminates that technical explanation. And this is true in every aspect of Torah. which is exactly similar to our classic illustration of 1 and 1, is not 1 and 1. 1 and 1 is 2. The technical union is 2 ones. The oil union is that it's 2. There is a union between them. All right, so this is it for this morning. Mission to be continued tomorrow again.
Good, Paltiel. Morning, everyone.
Be well.
Can
Okay.
I ask a question? Or is it...
Yeah, go ahead. Well, it has to be very quick because you have to daven.
Sure. I'm a little confused. It seems like this elicitation that the Torah is both, it's a bittul of Hashem's essential ratzon, and it's also that which elicits the bittul ratzon. But in order for it to be, in order for Hashem to have the will, you have to have a bittul ratzon.
You mean to say where is Torah start off in the first place?
What do you say?
Okay, you'll have to. I can't. It's not that simple of a question, so we have to delay it till tomorrow. Sag es so.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Like it is.
No.